Welcome, everyone. I am Nickeia Hunter from Vancouver, Washington, and a member of the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability. The mission of the WCPA is to reduce police violence and increase accountability while centering the voices of families impacted by police violence. Let's get started. Leslie, can you quickly tell us what are the four priorities we are advocating for this session?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Nickeia. I'm Leslie Cushman, and I live up in Thurston County here. And we are working on a traffic safety bill, a bill to end qualified immunity, a bill to provide the AG with additional authority to investigate systemic misconduct at local government police departments, and a bill to establish a statewide independent prosecutor.
Let's talk about that safety traffic bill. Who is the sponsor and has it been introduced?
Yeah, Representative Chapalo Street, who is a newly elected representative from the 37th Legislative District, is the sponsor. It does not have a bill number yet. We expect it to be introduced today or tomorrow.
As I understand it, the Traffic Safety for All bill is about equity and safety for road users and addresses what are called non-moving violations, like expired tabs or cracked windshields. What does the bill do exactly?
Well, first, expired tabs are not a road safety issue. We need to recognize that right away. This bill is about finding more effective ways to get people current on their tabs than using law enforcement to do that. It's actually surprising, once you think about it, that an armed police officer can pull you over and tell you that your tabs are expired.
So this bill is a way to have law enforcement put their emphasis on road safety issues like impaired driving, passengers, and drivers without seatbelts, and distracted driving.
Yeah, that's right. It has a grant program for cities, counties, tribes, and nonprofits to create pilot programs that help people comply with the law and fix their vehicles to avoid low-level violations. Repair vouchers, taillight installation workshops, helmet vouchers, fee waivers for expired tabs. It's a solution-oriented fund, and it's going to ensure safer vehicles on the road. It's going to support low-income drivers, and it fixes vehicles to improve road safety.
What else does the bill do?
Well, I'm going to tell you that. The premise is that reducing unnecessary low-level stops is going to reduce disproportionate impacts on communities of color and low-income people. These stops often lead to criminal system entanglement and debt. These stops often lead to violence. As I said, this bill is about safety. It's about equity. It prevents officers from pulling people over for equipment failures and expired tabs unless there's a safety risk. It also restricts irrelevant questioning and ends voluntary searches for low-level offenses. You know this, Nickeia. The leading cause of traffic accidents are impaired driving, distracted driving, speeding, and unrestrained passengers, and those stops can be prioritized.
And the bill includes a provision for data collection too. Let's move on to House Bill 1025, the Access to Fairness Act. What do people need to know about that?
So that bill is sponsored by Representative Meilin Tai from the 41st Legislative District. She's the prime sponsor, and Representative Julia Reed from the 36th Legislative District is the number 2 on the bill. We expect to have a hearing scheduled for this bill next week. So folks should watch for that. As soon as it's scheduled, you can sign in support. We'll be posting about the hearing date soon.
This bill is very important to families like mine who have lost their loved ones to police violence. My brother Carlos Hunter was killed by Vancouver Police Department in 2019. Right now, in order for a family or a victim to sue for a civil rights violation, we have to use federal law, and we have to overcome the barrier of qualified immunity. That stops many families from seeking justice and from getting a fair result.
Exactly, Nickeia. That's what House Bill 1025 is all about. It is a great piece of legislation. Without getting too wonky, it creates a private right of action using Washington laws and the Washington Constitution to sue for misconduct. And it is about because qualified immunity is part of federal law, it's not part of this law at all. This legislation is about accountability, and it's about the legislature stepping up for Washingtonians.
It is obvious to me that without accountability, we will not see police culture change. What else do people need to know about House Bill 1025, Leslie?
Well, if a plaintiff is successful, meaning they win, the judge can also award attorney fees. And there are defenses for the law enforcement agency if they are following state law or state training. And remember, the peace officer themselves, they won't be subject to personal liability. They are indemnified.
Okay, we have two more bills to talk about. We have a bill that gives the AG authority to investigate systemic misconduct. Is that right, Leslie?
Yes, that is right. This bill is sponsored by Representative Drew Hansen from the 23rd Legislative District. We actually expect the bill to be dropped in today. So introduced, we should have a bill number tomorrow, which we can share, and look at our Facebook page and on Twitter for that.
This bill is going to be important for Southwest Washington, where I live. We actually sent the Department of Justice a request to look into the systemic issues in Vancouver and Clark County. We have documented a lot of the bias, misconduct, and violence. Anything else you want to say about this proposal?
This bill takes police leadership and professionalism seriously. We want quality policing for all Washingtonians, and this is another piece of the accountability framework to change police culture.
Okay, another bill I am very interested in and that we have been working on since 2020 about establishing a state level independent prosecutor. My representative, Rep. Monica Stonier, is working on this. What is the status, Leslie?
This is another important bill for its part in the accountability framework. In 2021, the legislature established a statewide office for independent criminal
Hold on, Heaven, I'll be done in a minute.
Independent criminal investigations. That is being set up right now. The need for that office is obvious because police should not be investigating police for any alleged crimes related to deadly force used by police. They can't be impartial. Same thing for prosecutors. They have too many relationships at the local level. There is an inherent conflict of interest, and our solution is an independent prosecutor at the AG office. That bill might be scheduled for a hearing next week too. We will see. We are waiting on the bill draft for that.
Thank you, Leslie. Those four bills are a lot, but that is not all. We are working to keep the vehicular pursuit law in place that was passed in 2021. Vehicular pursuits are inherently dangerous, and the law is working well. It has reduced deaths of bystanders by 50%. We know there will be hearings on bills to roll it back, and we are all going to need to let our legislators know that it is not a good solution. It is a bad idea. The law is working and it is saving lives.
Hey,
So we will
Nickeia,
be, yes, ma'am.
I think I can share a couple bill numbers with you before we wrap this up.
Oh, yes, please do, Leslie. Go right ahead.
Okay, so House Bill 1363 and an identical bill in the Senate, Senate Bill 5352, have been introduced. So in both House and Senate, and they're bipartisan, and they really do a number on the vehicular pursuit law. You know, vehicular pursuit law that was put in place in 2021 is a best practice, and it reserves the tactic to only the most serious offenses because vehicular pursuits are inherently dangerous. What this bill does, what those bills do, House Bill 1363 and Senate Bill 5352, is authorize vehicular pursuit for any criminal offense. Any. That's a felony, a gross misdemeanor, or a misdemeanor. That's way too broad. Okay, Nickeia, back to you.
Thank you, Leslie. So we will be back next week with calls to action on the hearings we expect to be scheduled. In the meantime, let your legislators know you support the 2023 priorities of the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability. You can look at our website or download the handouts. Our calls to actions will be posted there as well. Thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you next week.